What does it feel like?
It feels sticky.
What does it feel like to you?
Slimy. Go, Courtney, hurry. The suction cups stick on you. Go, Courtney. Oh, sorry.
Side of our relatives, right?
I think you might have to wait your... She spotted on.
Spot. You say she?
No, I'm not sure what gender it is, but they don't live very long. They say maybe 2 to 3 years.
We're looking at the animals. If you want to gander over here a little bit, we're going to talk about our dive. We're about ready to take. We do this as part of Catalina Above and Below because this is simulating what we do to get some of the animals that you see in our tanks at the aquarium. Now, if this were a collecting trip where we were going to be collecting the animals, then it's not going to look the same as you're about to see right now. We're going to spend our time talking about the process. So the animals are going to come back up much like they are in these pools right now. You're going to get a chance to look at them and then we're going to let them go. So if it were a true collecting trip, we would be bringing them up. They wouldn't be spending their time in these pools and letting us all look at them. They would go directly into whatever safe containers we had to bring them back over to the mainland. And remember, it was about a 2-hour trip for us. With our boat at the aquarium, we can get there in about 50 minutes. That's 50. So it's all about getting the animals back to the mainland and into our tanks as quickly and safely for them as possible. Like I said, today is a simulated collecting dive, so you can see kind of the things we're after. The divers today, I'm Mike Schott. You met me earlier today. This is Chris Okamoto. He's one of our aquarists, a full-time aquarist at the aquarium. He's going to be our lead collector. And then we also have Charmaine, who is right over here. And Charmaine is one of our museum guides, is what we call them, much like what Dwight is right here. And the two of them, Charmaine works in the aquarium department and Dwight works in the aquatic nursery. They're going to be diving with us today. And so now what you're going to be listening for the next couple minutes is just a typical pre-dive safety talk that we talk about, organize what we're going to be doing so that everybody knows what's happening, and we make sure that we're doing everything we can to come back safely. Because that's what I always tell all the staff. However many staff you leave the aquarium with, you have to come back with that many staff. So that's the case for the divers. So if you could all be, I see Charmaine, I see Dwight. What happened to Chris?
He's over here. He's right here. You got him.
Oh, okay, he's coming. I guess with this, it's not so bad. I can be talking, you can be anywhere. So we're going to have Dwight stick with me and kind of stay roughly together as buddies. The water is so clear we shouldn't have any trouble keeping an eye on each other. Those of you that are collecting, Chris and Charmaine kind of keep an eye on each other. Meanwhile, you're going to be collecting some of the animals. We already have an octopus. I know that usually takes a while to get it, but we are looking for some of those other fish that we didn't get in the traps themselves. So, Chris, I know that would be Garibaldi,
Maybe some wrasses.
Senorita,
rock wrasse maybe.
rock wrasse. So that'll take him a little while. He's going to be going down. You'll notice that he's hanging on to some these bags right here. For any of you that are young, you've probably gone to a birthday party where you get a goodie bag. Well, divers dive with a goodie bag all the time. Those are called goodie bags. So we're bringing our goodie bags with us. They're going to come back full, or at least close to it, and you'll be able to see the animals that we're going after. Let's see. Charmaine and Dwight, I think if you guys could look for some of the echinoderms, the sea stars and urchins. There's one particular urchin, if you can get it, it would be great. It's the long-spined urchin, Centrostephanus. If you can find that, that would be great, so that they can all see the difference between the 3 different kinds that we see. And they've already seen one that we got in the hagfish trap, the fragile urchin. So this will be the 3 other species that we have. And then I'll be having a video camera on my head, and I'll be taping the whole dive. You'll be seeing it from my perspective. So hopefully I won't make you too seasick. I'm going to try really hard not to move my head too much up and down and over to the side so you can see things. And I and Dwight will be going around and spending some time with the other divers so you can see what they're doing as well. Jeff is going to be talking about our dive gear. It's a little bit of a bummer that we're taking all of it with us, so he's going to have to kind of refer to some of these pieces, especially after we get in the water, but we're going to do that right now. So, any questions on the safety? About 20 years, so I guess it was time.
Or we should comment.
And I've seen a lot.
Go ahead, Mike.
So, I mean, did someone tell you to running that way?
Oh, no.
So maybe we should look back together.
Where are we getting in?
I'll talk a little bit about the dive gear that the divers are using. The obvious thing they have is that nice wetsuit. That's for insulation to keep them warm as they dive. Surface temperature now is about 68 degrees. It's really nice, but as you go down, it is going to get a little cooler. Well, they also have a weight belt that they tie around their waist because this nice wetsuit is also extremely buoyant. And unless they have some help, they'll be floundering on the surface with this nice buoyant wetsuit. So they have weights. They have weights which help them get underneath the surface, and then as they get under the surface, they can actually power down. And as they get deeper and deeper, the bubbles in the neoprene that actually keeps them warm, the bubbles will get smaller and smaller because of the pressure around them as they get deeper. So their buoyancy will decrease, and they'll actually begin to sink. And now at the bottom, they're going to say, I wish I didn't have this weight belt. But they needed it to get down. So now, instead of just kind of climbing around the rocks and dragging their gear on the rocks, which will ruin their gear and harm all the marine life that they'll be rubbing against, they have what's called a buoyancy compensator. It's a vest that they have on their back right below their tank. And they can fill this up with air by pressing a button right here. Thank you, Chris. And that fills up the BC and allows them to hover like they're weightless on a spaceship. And it's an amazing feeling to just hover like a fish and not have to move at all and just stay right in the midwater. It's really a neat feeling. If you haven't scuba dove, you should try it just for that feeling. The air on their back has about 3,000 psi, pounds per square inch. If that air were to go right into their mouth, they would become the Goodyear blimp. So there are a couple of things that happen. It goes through a valve on the top of the tank, which reduces it down to 100 psi, a bit more manageable, but still not good for your lungs. And then it goes to a regulator, which they have in their mouth, which takes that 100 psi and reduces it down to whatever you want. As you breathe, it'll give you whatever you breathe, and make it very, very comfortable. And they work no harder down their breathing than you do up here breathing. So it's really, really convenient. They also have a backup regulator in case that mouthpiece fails or something goes wrong, which is, when you're diving, you kind of think about it a little bit. He has a secondary regulator on his BC, and if he needs to, he can grab that. And they always have two at every time. And they also, as you're learning how to dive, you go through buddy breathing, where if you need to, you can share your air with a buddy and come back to the surface. Divers will jump in the water and place their BC and just plop there. And then they'll sort of group in twos so that they have a buddy. They'll communicate that they're both ready.
Pretty good current, you guys. Be careful.
There's a shark.
Oh, Garibaldi? Little horn shark? Jump for the scope in there.
No lobsters.
Is there a time when you can actually hunt lobsters?
Yeah.
So November through March. October to March. Early March.
I want to throw one in.
You almost wore that thing. I know. I gotta put my hood back on here.
You're qualifying for the next round.
Try this one.
There goes another
One big one. Oh, let it go.
starcher.
He left on his own.
We'll put these in the other. Wow. What kind of fish is the orange fish?
Garibaldi. I think that's a
That's the state fish.
Can we get them out and put them in?
Isn't that a kind of
Toot your horn, Hong Kong horn.
Oh, a horn shark.
It's a horn shark. Look at the little horns on his dorsal.
Above his eyes. Ireland? What's your accent?
What does that do? Here.
Well, when you bring them up so quickly, the air in the swim bladder expands because
Oh, got a small shark, huh? Horn shark.
So I'm sort of pushing it, just squeezing the air out. It'll be much happier that way.
Rock wrasse.
Right here. They're beautiful fish. This is about the northern part of their range. They're more tropical. This is much more warm water fish.
Is this air ladder, is that fairly big so you can kind of punch anywhere near a fin?
No, it's probably
He's got his goodie bag to come up.
a little horn shark. Man, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, it'll sink.
It'll sink. Go ahead and let it go.
Well, I'm not as good at it as they are. Right, go ahead and go back up.
Larry, can we save the octopus? Oh, look at this. Beautiful. Beautiful red urchin. Yeah.
Don't drop it.
Oh, this is a different species yet. It's a long spine urchin.
Make sure you don't have it too close to your gonads.
Yeah.
It might be spikes.
Yeah, very long.
Yeah, your boys go a little bit too active.
Yeah, you're gonna let the air out of your gonad.
Do you know what fish this one is? Pretty
Seafish.
red-eyed guy?
The sea star.
Yeah, he's a rock wrasse.
Good, a sea star.
It's a male rock crab. Because of that black stripe, it tells you it's a male.
I can't see it, General.
The Garibaldi
How did you
California
catch
state
that
fish.
little freak?
Which one?
Garibaldi.
During the spring, they will clear off a patch of rock and take everything off except the red algae. They'll take the eggs. He will then put his sperm over the egg and fertilize it and then chase her away. And he will sit there and guard those eggs with his life.
Yeah, this is the underpart.
You ever seen one live?
Where did there were brittle stars. Is this one a brittle star?
Yes, look at them. They don't taste very good. Even with dill. Even with dill. But when you harass them, if you are a fish, they will take their whole intestinal tract and spit it out of their mouth and it's all sticky and gross, everything. And then they'll crawl away, that fish will be all tangled up, and they'll grow a whole new intestinal tract. Evisceration, that's how they make their living. Zoans, I mean, this is loaded with all sorts of stuff growing on the back of this abalone shell. You'll never see something growing on the back of a sea star because they have these little pinchers called pedicularia.
Yeah, he didn't.
You won't feel it, but
Look what Oak found.
you feel it.
Funny he was first back. Oh, yes.
You did.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, Oak's out. Good for body hair removal.
And you have body hair.
What is it?
That's a keyhole limpet.
Chestnut cowrie.
Oh, how pretty.
I can never say that word.
Anybody else want to try hair removal?
No, that's okay.
Okay, there's one. Okay.
Holy shit. This hides in the rocks with nothing but a spine sticking out. You never. Look how long the spines are.
Can you put that on the quick line?
You want to?
Yeah. If you trust it.
I do.
Mike's gonna show how to climb out. Expert. Got him on camera.
Thanks a lot for getting that on camera. It was going so well.
Here, we'll do it again.
Okay, do it again. I got you. I got it rolling here.
Okay, I got you. That's what happened.
Come on, show us that expert maneuver. Here.
Oh wow, look at her. Did she change color? Giant what now?
Turban snail, we call it a giant turban snail. See all this stuff growing on it? Look over here. Clean. They have on top here microscopic pinchers called pedicularia. And what they do is anything lands on it, what they'll do is they take it, they pick it off and just toss it off, cut it into whatever. Put your hand out like this, with your arm out, and we'll show you the pedicularia. How's that work? Maybe this one's better. Sticky a little bit? It's sticky. Okay. And just what it does is grabs the hair. Okay, so something like this. What eats these? You ever thought about who eats these guys? One way for sure are gulls. Every once in a while you might walk in, like 2 weeks ago on the beach, one of them had it in his throat. You can see the outline of it. So some of them will be, otherwise, with black hair. And I mean, you would open up your garage, refrigerator. So these are black. Oh, here. Yes, that's a black sea hare or black slug, sea slug, either way. You're going to find that yellow, orangish looking stuff, okay? These are different sexes, male and female. So if you get a female, you eat the roe. If you get a male, you eat the testes. All right, so what I'm saying is you eat the gametes of either one. So you can't say you've been eating only the roe. You eat either or. Yeah, you eat the gametes. So just to let you know. Now, these guys, you'll find them in tide pools. Sometimes in tide pools, they may have an accident where they may flip over. In tide pools, you have to turn over because this is when their mouth is.
There's his little claw.
Actually not, because they'll just get another one.
What a sponge would be if it were
Yeah.
soft, but it's not soft.
Chestnut cowrie.
So once it bites, you just can't escape.
That's exactly right.
I don't know. It's covered
An abalone shell.
It's been around a long
We opened it
time.
up, there's probably 7, 8 rows back there ready to pop up.
You only have seconds before you cheers, yeah.
S12.
He's got nothing to put
He
in.
produce is horn sharks lay eggs.
He's testing the nail varnish he
And like a
doesn't
chicken
like.
lays an egg, their skin is a lot smoother. Their dermal denticles, the scales are.
Have a shark again?
That's this guy.
What is
It's
this?
a horn shark.
This is the actual egg?
It's
They have,
the
like,
baby hatched
smaller-
out,
Oh, okay.
left the egg.
Almost like corduroy. It looks like,
Oh,
right?
this is the actual the external shell.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is the-
So
one
cool.
baby grows up inside, and there's a yolk sac, seaweed, so that the waves don't move it into deep water where it's not good, or into shallow water where it's going to go into the tide pools. It stays where they want it to stay. And again, it takes the same amount of time, and that's right out the bottom.
You said some sharks.
Got a belt right beneath the upper one.
You see some young gulls. You don't see this often, so get up here, in front, in the bow.
You can really take a really good look at these guys. But there are also some royal terns. All the terns closer to the packages of terns that we're seeing there.
Are those terns locals or transients?
No, they're local.
Are those left turns or right turns?
Most species actually are.
You know the name of this little island?
It's called the bird rock. They more than likely they have a nest right there. I'm not seeing that. They don't really
Like maybe behind the rock that the one is
build a
standing
nest.
by?
They lay their eggs in a little depression on the ground, but they more than likely have a nest right there.
What keeps the gulls? The other gulls eating the baby gulls.
The parents.
There's one climbing up the.
Yeah, that's a prickly pear. That's probably native to the island.
Oops.
There are a couple.
Extremely lighter, but there's also variation in amongst individuals, much like all of our skin. So it's really hard to tell if you're looking at a male or a female when they're this size. So these California sea lions, over 59,000 were born in 1 year. This is a population that is booming. Well over 300. And yeah, their population is doing quite well. There, but they do pursue and eat the smallest. It's not a large fish, it's a fish on So that was the first of hopefully many marine mammals we'll see today. There are a couple swimming in the water on our right side of our boat, coming up to take a closer look. They do tend to be very, very curious, inquisitive animals, and hopefully they'll even come up a little bit closer. They're taking a nice look at the back of the boat there. And you can get a nice look at the sea lions. After that, we're going to be going to isthmus. So there's been an hour and a half on the isthmus. For those of you who need to pick up anything right now, change your shoes or whatever, because once we get there, we have to start unloading, all right? So we'll be there approximately 11:30. So you have about 15 minutes or so.
restroom stop.
It's a good idea.
You're on.
All right.
So how do you like it here?
This is great. We're going to go on a walk through the isthmus to the other side of the island. It should be very, very interesting. So hopefully you enjoy the footage.
You gotta keep doing it.
All right.
All summer
Thank you.
to be on a boat.
Thank you very
You're not
much.
supposed to focus it? Or is it automatic?
It automatically focuses. Catalina Island. Let's see what we can see. We can look all the way to Hawaii. Yeah, so they should have it. Boom. We're going to depart about 1 o'clock. Straight up. Casting off the line. We're ready to get out of here and head back to the mainland.
That's the last I heard.
Sees Marine Lab. Hyperbaric chamber inside that building there. Using those hooks to grab the kelp.
I don't think so. I didn't hear anything like that.
What's the magnification, you know?
You know, this is...
Is that with the GoPro?
Yeah, no, this is with... I don't know what this is. Chris does it. I don't know what the mag is on this magnification.
If you got a ruler, Mike, put a ruler underneath it and then you can scale it up.
I could. I don't know where that is. I'll have to look around and see if I can find it.
Or the letter E or anything like that.
They're sticking their legs out.
Yeah.
It's hard to miss too.
That's great. They have water, so they're taking advantage of it. They're barnacles. They're gooseneck barnacles. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's cool. We'll put this under too. So what the barnacles are doing is they're sticking their legs out and raking the water for smaller plankton that's coming by. So they're kicking food into their mouth, which is down in through here. And there's stalks. This is a type of gooseneck barnacle called Lepus. L-E-P-A-S. Probably Lepus anatifera. This is a little microscope that our outreach people use. I don't know why it's doing all this movement. I guess it's me. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I wonder if it's boy, right on now. Right on. So remember, these are crustaceans.
You might be able to see.
Sit off for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
What a beautiful day.
It's beautiful. It really calmed down.
And you can look down and see some really neat features right there from the dolphins. They don't have a horizontal tail, allowing them to stroke their tail up and down. Back in the boat, back in the boat. On the top of their head. Grill on the top of their head, although they do have two air passageways, just like you and I do. One of those has been adapted for echolocation, which all toothed whales, sperm whales, dolphins, killer whales, all use echolocation. And so one of their air passageways has been adapted to echolocation. So they only have now, and some dolphins do. And it's kind of a full
down? Anything down below? Where are those?